Wait. Everybody, today we'll be focused, what I've said, we'll be focusing on vocabularies. Maybe the following days will be the following meetings will be focusing on vocabularies. Today we'll be talking about animal graphics and drawings. I think some of you already know that. I mean, some of you some of you may already encounter lessons about animals. You already know that for speaking and writing, vocabulary is very important, especially during the examinations. This is to widen your vocabularies for the following days. Maybe the following meetings, I'll be giving you some vocabularies that are related to IELTS so that you can use soon. As what I have said, during the speaking section and speaking section and writing section, you'll be using a lot of vocabularies. So therefore, might as well, I'll give you some vocabularies. Now, for animal welfare, it is very crucial for us human beings nowadays because there are so many animals that have been living here in the world, but most of us human doesn't even care. Some, okay, not most, but some people doesn't care about animals. So as what I'm saying today, we'll be talking more about animals. What are their rights and wrongs? Do they have rights to live in the world? Barry, you to wash your face. I think you're sleepy. Are you sure? Okay. Do you agree with that? I mean, what is your opinion about that? Animals have the right to live in Earth. Do they have rights? Could you expand that?
Because you have animal who are not lonely.
What's that?
Who are not lonely.
Yes. Some animals are actually used for therapeutic. You know what therapeutic is? When you know those people who are actually sad, they go to hospitals, they go to maybe mental hospitals, or maybe they go to psychiatric wards. When you see psychiatric wards, these are places that have problems with their minds, especially those who are very sad. Animals are actually very useful to them to make them feel that they are not lonely and they are not alone. So as I am saying, I have here some general terms for animals. Animal rights and wrongs. First one is animal welfare. When we say animal welfare, it means the well-being of animals. Animals have the ability. What are their abilities? The abilities of these animals, such as pork. What does pork give to human? Meat, right? So that is another ability. What are their abilities? Horse help humans, especially in farming, carrying them, right? What else? In the Philippines, cows are very useful. I don't think here in your country, but in my country, actually cows are very useful for farming. Why? Because as of now, some of the rural areas in the Philippines actually aren't using modern technologies for planting rice. Up until now, in my country, some of the areas, such as rural areas, they don't use those. So what they use cow as their helpers in planting rice. This is how it is. You see that? Most of the Filipinos still doing this. So the ability of animals are actually somehow the welfare of animals. So you see those, up until now, some of the rural areas in the Philippines, cows are actually helpers of the farmers. Now, that is what you meant by well-being. Aside from that, well-being means the quality of life for non-humans. So, these animals actually have the rights to live. Therefore, that refers to animal welfare. This include their physical and their mental health. Some animals have been cruelty grown in some farms, which is very sad. Anyway, next one is animal rights. This is what I'm talking about. When we say animal rights, it means that animals actually do have rights to live. That's what I've said. Actually, some of the people, they took advantage of these animals, wherein especially in scientific wards. Have you seen videos using animals as testers for beauty products? Do you know that? Do you know that some animals are used for testers for beauty products before they roll it out and sell those products in the supermarket? Do you know that? Yes. And it's a very sad thing because some people believe that they don't have rights to live. And most of these animals are actually, after testing them, they will die. Because, it's a very sad thing. Next one. Next one is sentient beings. When we say sentient beings, it means that creatures capable of feeling pain and emotions. That's what I've said. Animals have the rights, and there are sentient beings. When we say sentient beings, they have also feelings, especially when you kill them, especially those domesticated animals. When we say domesticated animals, those are animals actually, those are animals in process of taming them from a very wild animal, and we make them a good animal. Okay? Now that is a very sad truth about there, because most of those people, there are so many factories and companies right now that they don't care at all about these animals, where in fact, these animals have also emotions and feelings, just like human beings. Next one is ethical treatment. When we say ethical treatment, it means that treating animals in morally accepted way. Some may do this, or some does this, but actually most people doesn't care at all. I don't know about here in Vietnam, but in the Philippines, there are people who hate cats. And what they do about that? Because, are your cats here like good cats or bad cats? When we say good cats, these are actually cats that are like, they grow inside the house, or they are pets to human. In the Philippines, we have cats that are actually, they grew up in slums, in the streets. And these cats are actually bad cats. Why? because most of these cats are actually cats who stole food inside your house. That's why we need to, whenever we finish eating and we still have leftover foods, we usually cover the foods or put them in a container wherein no cats can get the food. Do you have that here? No? Some. That's a very sad truth about the Philippines because there are so many cats who grew up in streets. So people hate those kind of cats. So what they usually do, they boil water, and whenever there's cat, they wash off the cat with boiled hot water. And that is unethical. That is a very bad thing. They are just cats. These cats actually doesn't know what are they doing. They may know what they're doing, but they are surviving. Just like human beings. Every single day, we need to eat food in order for us to survive. Same goes as cats. They need foods to eat. Maybe that's why they don't have foods they eat around the area or the streets. That's why they go inside the house. Same goes as human being, right? So that is ethical treatment. I think that animals should have ethical treatment. Do you agree with that, Linda? Yes. Why? Just give your thoughts about it. Why do you think that we need to give animals ethical treatment?
Because they are like humans, they also have emotion.
Yes,
So
exactly.
we should treat them in a right way.
Yes, in ethical way. That's right. Thank you for that. Next one, we have here exploitation. Do you know this word? Exploitation? Yes or no? No. Exploitation means the unfair use of animals for human benefit. Now, do you listen to news here in Vietnam? Do you? Sometimes. Actually, I think this is not just happening in my country, but actually this is actually happening to most of the countries. I have here an example. In the Philippines, we have so many animals because the Philippines is surrounded by waters and there are so many tropical islands in the Philippines. Therefore, there are so many animals there that can only be found in the Philippines. Do you know the animal pangolin? Does anyone know what a pangolin is? Do you know this animal? Yes. We have pangolins in the Philippines, but actually this is a very sad thing in the Philippines because the rate of pangolins in the Philippines are actually now endangered in my country, just in my country, because most of the human beings there, especially those who live in the rural areas, and they don't have education about it. They catch pangolins and exploit it. And then they send these animals to another country. But most of these people who aren't successful bringing pangolins to another country, especially China, because they believe, Chinese people, that the scales of these animals are actually, they have medical purposes, or it could heal something. That's why most people catch this and sold it to Chinese people, but they aren't successful about it. But it's a very sad thing because whenever you catch an animal and you put them in a very small containers, these animals will be stressed and possibly they will die right after that. So that is a very sad thing in the Philippines because But here's a good catch, because some of these people who are actually selling these animals are actually in prison. They are put into jail, and then right after that, they will be jailed for 5 to 10 years. And then they need to pay so much money for the things that they've caused. And of course, we have exploitation, the unfair use of animals for human benefits. I have watched so much videos about animals that are mistreated by humans. Are you okay to watch videos about mistreatment of animals? Are you okay with that? Okay. Actually, I watched this and I felt very bad about this. Just a short one.
Every year, PETA's shelter and its field workers prevent and alleviate the suffering of thousands of animals and save or improve the lives of countless others. My name is Daphne. I oversee our shelter, which assists.
Are you sure these are farm abuses? These animals are actually forced to give birth, because whenever a calf is pregnant, they usually produce so much milk. So that's why people take advantage of that. Whenever they give birth, they remove the calf and then they move it away from the mother. And right after that, a week after that, they would kill the calf for meat purposes again. So this is not just for cows, actually. See that? They're pulling in, even if it's not yet going to give birth. It is not just dairy industry, actually. There are so many here. Like we have chicken. I don't know. Can you watch this? They are put into a very crowded place, and even if there are animals that die in the area, you cannot easily look for that kind of animal. But here is a very sad thing. Are you okay with this? This is a very harsh thing. Are you okay with this? Okay, I got it. It's very stressing. I watch it and I.
Are big business. Australians eat around 6.5 billion of them a year, and each of those eggs comes from a chicken. One of the roughly 21 million layer hens across the country, each one bred specifically for egg production. But of course, only female chickens lay eggs. So what happens to all the male chicks born into the egg industry?
See this. The male. You know the word shredding? You know the word shredding? Shred. You know what's the word shred? You know a machine that grinds everything? Yes. Chickens are actually shredded.
Over the years, the chicken industry has developed two very different breeds of chickens. Layers, bred to lay eggs, and meat chickens, also known as broilers, bred to grow as much flesh as possible. Male layer chicks don't grow large enough to be sold for meat, and farms consider them financially worthless. So the egg industry does the only thing that makes economic sense to them. They kill these baby chickens, more than 12 million of them a year, usually on their first day of life. The egg industry uses two main methods to kill chicks. The first is gassing chambers, which render chicks unconscious using carbon dioxide. The other method of killing, which the industry considers most efficient, is called maceration.
That's shredding.
Along with gassing, maceration is used across all egg production systems: caged, barn-laid, free-range, and organic. It's also what the industry does to millions of meat chicks that they consider unviable. Every day in hatcheries across Australia, thousands of male chicks are sorted from the females. They are then poured from crates onto conveyor belts. Shunted along, they bounce off the belt's rails and each other. Finally, they drop off the edge of the belt and their bodies are torn apart by a metal grinder. All of this is legal and commonplace. When the egg industry looks at these chicks, it doesn't see living, thinking, feeling beings. It just sees an inconvenience to be dealt with. At the end of the day, these are profit-driven industries that are trying to meet demand for a product. As people buy more and more eggs, the egg industry finds ways to produce them as cheaply and efficiently as possible. Creating machines to kill chicks en masse is the clinical result of this drive for efficiency. But there's a silver lining. We have the power to stop this.
Okay, you see that? So there are sentient beings. When we say sentient beings, they also have feelings and they could feel pain. So that's one of the sad stories about that, because these animals are actually exploited. Actually, not just these animals. Most animals are actually mistreated some of the farms, such as cow, pigs, horse. Anyway, going back to our discussion. Next one is cruelty-free. When we say cruelty-free, it means that products or practices that do not harm animals. From the word itself, cruelty-free. Next one is domestication. When we say domestication, it means the process of taming. What do you mean by taming? Taming means something that we are turning bad to good. Now, taming animals for human use. For example, there are animals in the zoo, right? There are animals in the zoo such as tiger, lions, bears. These are actually wild animals. So what are people doing to them. They are taming them. They are practicing them to become a good animal so that it will not attack them, right? So that is taming. That is domestication, okay? From bad animal, from wild animal to pet animals or for human use. We also have here captivity. When we say captivity, it means keeping animals confined. Confined. What is the other word for confined? Synonym of confined? Keeping animals confined in zoos, aquariums, and research facilities. What is the other word for confined? Do you know? Kept. What else? Imprisoned, caged. Those are just the same. Okay? Now, captivity is keeping animals confined in zoos, aquariums, or research facilities. Now, these are actually animals such as those animals in the zoo. Okay? That's what we meant by captivity. There are animals that are good for captivity, such as panda. Did you know that pandas are the laziest animals? That's why these pandas are actually good for captivity. But not most animals are good for captivity, keeping them in zoos, aquariums, or research facilities. Because panda is the laziest animal, sometimes when they give birth into the wild, they don't care about their babies. That's why before, pandas were actually endangered animals. But now, since people have been captivating them, keeping them for research, keeping them in the zoos, pandas have been not merely endangered, but the numbers are growing. Okay? So that's a good thing because that's what I've said, there are animals that are good to kept in captivity, but actually there are animals that aren't, such as polar bears. Polar bears usually live in Arctic. And some researchers have been testing out polar bears, and they found out that polar bears aren't good for captivity. They cannot give birth when they are not in their natural habitat. When we say natural habitat, it means that the home of the animals. Human beings, what is our natural habitat? Of course, house, flat, like that. But for animals, they have also their natural habitats. Fish lives in ocean, water, ponds, whatsoever, many watery areas. But also pandas living in, polar bear lives in Antarctic, snowy places. Okay, so it's a very sad thing because up until now, polar bears are actually endangered animals. They are endangered because of climate change. The snow in Arctic Ocean are actually now melting. And these polar bears are trying to look for homes. And they were not able to find one. Anyway, let's proceed to animal testing and research. Now, for testing animals, we have here vivisection. When we say vivisection, it's about operating on live animals for scientific research. For those animals who are actually in the research facilities, when they are operated by some scientists or doctors, it is what we call vivisection. Now, next one is laboratory testing. When we say laboratory testing, it means the use of animals in experiments, often for medical and cosmetic purposes. Okay, now I'll show you a video about animals. here is a video of laboratory testing for animals.
For 8 months in 2009, an investigator from PETA worked undercover inside laboratories at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The investigator documented terrible suffering and miserable conditions that PETA believes are violations of state and federal animal protection laws. The university buys many dogs and cats from this and other area shelters. These animals are then engaged and experimented on. The university bought this affectionate cat named Robert from the Davis County Animal Shelter for $15. Experimenters cut into Robert's skull, implanted electrodes, and ran electric current through his brain. Pregnant cats are bought from shelters so that their kittens can be used. University experimenters injected chemicals into the brains of these kittens to cause excessive fluid to build up inside their heads, all of them dying. Friendly dogs like these, purchased for $20 each from local shelters, are used in deadly respiratory experiments. Animals suffering from seizures, paralysis, severe wounds, and other injuries were denied veterinary care and pain relief.
She's dying. I mean, she's not dying, but she's in a lot of misery and pain. So they didn't give her anything yesterday?
These mice were inflicted with cancerous tumors. Even the federal guidelines single out excessive tumor growth as a concern. Mice were left to suffer from these enormous growths. Mice who were clearly suffering from fatal injuries and from the diseases inflicted on them were denied prompt euthanasia.
When did you guys ever? I like to be sitting in a little square box with happy stickers in your eye, believe. Yeah, shivered in trauma. I guess I got crazy. Oh my god, I was like a second mouse growing outside of them. Think about how it works for this one on 15, this one on 13, but like it was that and it was worse. So having one that looks like it or let's say for 20 seconds. Over a week for that one. It does these different with the doctor.
So you see that there are so many animals that are used for testing facilities, and it's very cruel. Even the baby animals, they are kept confined in testing facilities, and even babies, they were like injected with something for testing things. And as you can, if you heard the girl saying that most of the babies who were injected with, I forgot the thing, they were all dying. They all died. And then, yeah, some animals were actually bought and then put inside the testing facilities. They bought it in shelters. That's a very sad thing. Anyway, going back, those are what we call laboratory animals, wherein they are kept for experiments. And those mice that you've seen, they have so many things that they grow in their body parts. They injected cancer whatsoever there. That's a very sad thing. Next one, we have your alternative testing method. When we say alternative testing method, this means non-animal methods like computer models or cell cultures. So these are actually animals that they remove the cells and they try to connect it to other animals. Next one is genetic modification. When we say genetic modification, it's altering. When we say altering, it's like copying an animal's DNA for scientific purposes. Now, there are animals that are already extinct in the world right now. But scientists are trying to figure things out to make sure that these animals will be back in nowadays. But yes, there were successful ones, but I think there are also ones that are very hard to alter or to copy the DNAs of these animals, such as mammoth. Do you know mammoth? The biggest elephant? Do you know that? It's already extinct long, long ago.
Is that
What?
is what is
This one? Yes. It's already extinct and it's a very big type of elephant. So, scientists found out a small DNA about this one in a frozen part in Arctic Ocean, I guess. And then they found out they are altering. They are modifying it to copy because maybe they could bring back mammoth, but it's a very hard thing. Anyway, next one is biomedical research. When we say biochemical research, it means that the study of disease and treatments using animal. So, and these are also animals that are treated to study about disease and treatments using animals. Now, I don't know if my, for me, let me remember it. That was a long time ago. Before there was a scientific research wherein they try to get the heart of a pig and put it in the heart of replace the heart of a human. Would you think that's possible? Yes, no. But you know, there was a time long ago they replaced because that man really needs a heart replacement as soon as possible. So they tried to replace the heart of a human of a pig. It was successful for just 2 to 3 days, but it was successful for 2 to 3 days. But after that, the human died because that's what I'm saying. It's not compatible, right? Animals' heart and humans' heart aren't compatible. That's why up until now, I think researchers have already stopped, or scientists have stopped doing that, but I think they're still doing it now, I guess. But anyway, there are so many research that animals have been involved for diseases and treatments. Let's say, for example, I forgot I have read something before. I will not mention what disease is that, but I have read before. No, not read, but I have listened to news. I've heard a news that they were saying cells coming from human, they injected it to an, I forgot the animals, and then right after that they cleaned the animal cell, cleaned the human cell, and they remove it again and they put it back to the human being. So it's what do you call this? Anyway, science is so much for me. You know, they have these methods wherein they are using animals to treat diseases and treatments. But also, biomedical research is also part of those animals who are actually part of people who are suffering loneliness. Okay, those people who are having loneliness, medical people would tell them to get a dog, get these animals so that it would help you to comfort yourself, like that. So that is also biomedical research. Next one is ethical dilemma. When we say ethical dilemma, it is a situation where people must choose between animal rights or scientific progress. Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you ethical dilemma. Would you agree that animals that are kept in the zoos actually have animal rights? Or, animals that are kept in, they are confined in scientific research. Do they have animal rights? Or maybe it's just scientific progress? Do you think we, human beings, scientists, they are trying to prove something? They are trying to figure out something. Where would you B. Animal rights or scientific progress? What is your ethical dilemma? Jack. What is your ethical dilemma? Is it animal rights or scientific progress? Do we really need animals to be confined in scientific research laboratories for in the future there will be scientific progress? Or do you believe that these animals have actually animal rights? So if not animals, who or what should the scientists use for testers?
I think this is monkey.
What's that?
Monkey.
No, that's what I'm asking. Where would you be? Animal rights or scientific progress? Choose among the two. Hmm?
I have no idea.
It's okay. Linda, how about you? Animal rights or scientific progress? Do you think it is very important for animals to be kept and confined in laboratories so that in the future we'll be able to discover new things? Or should you always think about animal rights? What's your ethical dilemma?
Through animal rights. They shouldn't be kept in captivity because some people took making a profit. So I don't really agree with this.
That's good. Linda's ethical dilemma is animal rights. Actually, mine too. I do agree with these animals shouldn't be kept in captivity. Actually, some products right now, beauty products, cosmetic products, what else? Medical products, they aren't testing animals now. They just test it out to maybe plants or something like that. So plants is fine, right? Because plants are very okay. Next one, animal for entertainment and fashion. Okay, we have here circus and zoos. Places where animals are kept for human entertainment, such as circus and zoos. Have you ever been to zoos? Who have visited a zoo here? Does anyone? No one. How about circus? No one as well. That's great. Do you want to visit the circus soon? In the future? Barry? Yeah, would you like to visit these animal entertainment places in the near future? Would you?
Because I never go to the zoo before.
Okay. How about you, Kyler? Would you like to visit zoos or circus in the near future?
I want to go to I visit the forest.
Forest. I will visit the forest.
Yes, I don't want to look at the animal in the zoo.
Okay, that's great.
Because it is not